Hi, beautiful souls. This is the third time I'm recording this. It's an interesting one, this one, because it's something Spirit wants me to kind of start doing, and it's something that I'm extremely uncomfortable with. And so this is the this is the third time I'm trying to record this. But the phrase that I feel I want to use and I want to discuss is make your heart bigger than your hands and you will be victorious. And it coincides with the other aspect that Spirit of actually getting me to explore. And I don't know whether I will explore it on video. They definitely want me to explore it. They definitely want me to tell my story. It's an interesting one. It's making me dreadfully uncomfortable, but I'm the first to say that we have to come out of our comfort zones to be able to grow. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hi and welcome to Oaklaw Door. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Claratio. For those that are returning subscribers, thank you, thank you, thank you. And as I said in the intro, it's about coming out of our comfort zones. It's about making our hearts bigger. It's opening those hearts, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. And Spirit came and have been knocking on my door and saying, you have to tell your story, you have to tell your story. And they've been doing it for years, I'm going to be honest. I've skimmed over it. I've kind of, I've navigated around it rather than get to the nitty gritty of the story. I've got there for myself, but I don't know. I don't know whether it's that very British, don't air your dirty laundry in public type scenario going on. I really don't, it's uncomfortable, but it's what's been interesting the last week or so is that I started watching The Maid. And for those of you that don't know, Maid is a series on Netflix and it deals with domestic violence, but it deals with the aspects of domestic violence that are very little talked about, and that is emotional threats, emotional manipulation, and monetary financial abuse. So you've got that emotional abuse, you've got the financial abuse, you've got those threats, you've got that threatening behavior happening around you constantly. And you're always walking on eggshells. Even if you've not been physically abused, you're always working on eggshells, wondering when you're going to be next. And it has been a big part of my story. The portrayal within the series is absolutely amazing. I have to say the person that wrote it obviously has either done immense research or they have experienced it themselves, because there are too many true to life aspects that have been included and are portrayed within it. And it talks about a young woman who finds herself ending up having to leave her husband, picking up her baby and walking out, not having a clue where she's going to go or what she's going to do, and then trying against all odds to rebuild her life. And as I've watched the series, I have cried, I have laughed, I have cried, I have laughed. And it's been a real roller coaster, and it gave me some very aha moments, because it was like watching my younger self on the screen. And then I had to acknowledge those stepping stones, that which built me, that gave me the strength. And I know in recent years, I know since I've been on my spiritual journey, I have had people come after me because of my spirituality, and then they have been shocked that I'm like a immovable mountain. And it's interesting because for me, anything that's been done in the recent years is nothing to what I experienced as a young woman. And so, whilst being frustrating, annoying, irritating, disheartening, I knew as long as I just kept loving my heart, it would come to an end. That cycle would close itself out and I would be okay. I suppose really the story that is wanting to be told is not one of woe, but one of warrior. And I know there are so many of us out there that have gone through trials and tribulations continuously, perpetually, year after year after year. And I think that's the one thing that, as I've been watching the series, has been so magical for me, because even though it's such a serious series and it's dealing with such a serious topic, there are moments of joy and magic. The one scene in particular is where she gets her toddler into the most fantastic nursery, even though she is on minimum wage and that's needing to be supplemented. And, you know, hands up, I was a nurse. I was a registered nurse, but when you're working part-time then, even now, as a registered nurse, you will need to be having some assistance because you can't afford to bring up a child on that wage without some assistance. But she manages, she does, and she bends over backwards and she takes a second job and she gets her child, and so she's dancing down this path. You have this scene of her dancing and the joy with her child, and she's sharing, and she's able to provide for her little one in a way that wasn't provided for her. And that's very joyous. And then with a blink of an eye, because of outside forces and because she never had her voice, because she's not yet stepped into that warrior energy, being an empowered woman, she loses it all. She loses the lovely home. She loses the placement because she needs to be living in that home, in that area, to get that placement. It's interesting watching it. It's interesting as to why Spirit wants me to talk about this. Why? Because it's not about woe. I think it's about recognition, and it's something that I have noticed in the collective in a very big way of late, is that we are being asked to give recognition to what we've gone through. And as I said, I'm not the only one. Many, many, many. And there were many generations before us that went through worse, and there will be generations after that are going through it or will go through it. Unfortunately, humanity is not in a place or a space that we can eradicate this type of behaviour at the moment. We are still learning about dysfunction. We are still learning about emotional intelligence. We are still learning how to effectively communicate with each other. And we're still learning that we need to live with the land, not on the land. Many people have said that I'm mysterious, that I am secretive, that I am closed off. And yeah, to a certain degree, I will accept that. I take some time before I feel comfortable in new people's company, where I can be myself. It's not that I'm intentionally closing off, it's protection. And there are lots of people in this world, and I think this is the thing to recognize. We talk about vulnerability, we talk about openness, we talk about transparency, and I have no problem being all of that when I feel safe with people. But I have to feel safe first of all, because there have been far too many daggers, metaphorically, put in the back. And even when I do feel safe, there have been many, many times when that safety has been just an illusion. I'm not sure of how the story within is going to be expressed. I do know that they are wanting me to express it, and they are wanting all of us to express it. I think that's the key. This is not just about me, this is about all of us. They are wanting us to express our stories, but not in a whoa, whoa way, in a wow, wow way. Because we have become warriors. We did go into the lion's den. It just feels uncomfortable still. And it's interesting because it makes me feel very emotional. And I've probably done more grieving in the past 2 years than I've done in my entire life, because it was a case of stuff it down, move it on. And whilst, yes, I've been on a healing journey for the last 10 years, there were steps within the healing process that, looking back, I intentionally missed because I knew I wasn't in a place or a space. I didn't have the strength to move through that then, and so I'm moving through it now. And it's interesting because so many of us are going through that process. And what's even more interesting is that it is having a profound effect on the collective energies. It's shifting, because as we shift through that, we shift and move out of any residual fear or shame or guilt or any of those lower vibrating emotions that were lingering there, that were hiding, that were masking, that we didn't see because they were masking. We weren't able to see them, we weren't able to acknowledge them, or we weren't ready, whichever you want to, however you want to take it. But it's happening now. And it's interesting because many, many times I have said about this big shift that's coming in, and we didn't really know how it was going to look. And to be honest, it's kind of like, whoa, okay, that's how it's looking. We didn't really know how it was going to manifest. And it was like, whoa, that's how it's manifesting. It's manifesting through us, because of us. Because we're finally going, do you know what? I've had enough of this. And it's not coming from any bravado. It's not coming from anywhere egoic. It is coming from a heartfelt desire of, I deserve to live my life as I see fit. With peace, with harmony, with love. And it takes us back to that phrase. Learn to make your hearts bigger than your hands, and you will be victorious. Work on those hearts. Open that space. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable of the unknown. It's time. It's time we rebalanced the scales. If you like the video, then hit that like button. If you've not yet subscribed, then please subscribe. And I shall see you on the next one, beautiful souls. Take care.